afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us here today in our final webinar of our Construction Suite 6 series. My name is Rachel Pickens, and I'm joined here by a few special guests today. I've got Holly Gibson, one of our UDA colleagues here. Hi, everyone. And then we're also joined by two of our UDA users, Dan Clune and Mac Frazier, who will be sharing with you their use of ConstructionSuite and ConstructionOnline and really kind of showing off what they've done and talking a little bit about how they've used the software. So Holly and I are really excited about this webinar. This is one that we were, a few minutes before this started talking with Dan and Mac about common questions that we'll hear from our user base and new users. And they're always wanting to know, they're always asking us at UDA for advice or best practices, what are other people doing and how are they using this, or what tips and tricks do they have. And so, what better way to kind of share it with you than to have two users who have been long-term ConstructionSuite and ConstructionOnline users who can do it themselves.
Exactly. People just, one of the common questions that we get are exactly this. How do I get started? What are other people doing? So I think it's just this format is so great for letting people really see what everybody else is doing and how other people are using it successfully.
Yeah, and as many of you might know, we've just launched ConstructionSuite 6. So a lot of the buzz that we're really hearing about now at UDA is about that new product in ConstructionSuite 6, and certainly that's what this webinar series has really highlighted. The different options and tools and new things that you'll see within that software. But today it was really going to give you a bigger picture than just the new software and the new ConstructionSuite 6. We're really going to take a look at really the complete product. So hearing from Dan and Mac in terms of how they're really using the full application and ConstructionOnline. So really, let's go ahead and jump right into it. I know that Dan and Mac are excited to share off. So Mac, we're going to start with you. You've been talkative so far, and we'll give you a chance to kind of start it off. So Mac Frazier here is joining us today. He's been a client of ours since 2002. I've got his website pulled up here, so just you can put kind of a website to a face, right, to a name.
Exactly.
But no, Mac, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you've been using ConstructionSuite and Online. Okay.
Well, like you said, I've owned some form of UDA software since 2002. I own an architect-led design-build firm. We do primarily custom home design build. We have two different offices, one in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and one in Knoxville in East Tennessee. This is an amazing piece of software. It keeps me connected with all my guys, I use it extensively every day. I have both the suite in my office as well as the online version, and it's an amazing thing. It keeps my clients connected with me, especially the online portal. And I have it linked. If you look at my web page, there's a client login link. My clients can go there and go directly to the login page.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Very good. And I know that, Mac, you were wanting to perhaps show off a little bit of maybe a sample, an existing project or something as well. So if you'd like, I can turn over the screen there, so you'll be seeing that.
So this is kind of a distilled down version of what I've got going on right now. I have several other projects, but I cleaned it up so it wouldn't be too complicated. These are, I've got, actually it's just two projects going. These three projects are all on one site. Beeley Barn Residence and Shop, and then Wilhite Residence is a single family home. This job is in South Carolina, and this job is in Tennessee. And I use every piece of this. I mean, there's a scheduling portion, there's an estimating portion. I use all this daily. I love how the new interface actually gives you the opportunity to see in a snapshot any given project. Right now, what you're looking at the top of here is just the Beeley Shop, which is a workshop that I'm doing for the client, and you can see how the costs are broken down over that particular structure. This is the lead pipeline. I've started using this more extensively with the new version, and basically this helps me keep track of all the job prospects I have and what phase of communication I am with them. You can see I have 12 there in some form of design or pre-construction planning. Two awarded over here. So I've really started trying to use this as a way to really keep me on top of new prospects and making sure I stay in touch. And some of these leads are, a lot of times in a custom home, I'm in touch with these people for 6 or 8 months before they ever pull the trigger to do the job. So it's important to stay on top of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love what you've done there as the designer here. I love that you've taken a look at those icons at the top and really customized those too. So that's good to see. It looks awesome.
Yeah. Also, I was going to show you just very quickly here. This is my ConstructionOnline page.
Excellent.
Basically, this is all synced with what's on the ConstructionSuite page. So the 2 different colors here, these are the 2 different projects I've got going on. The one job is just right now still in the bank loan processing phase, so there's not much going on with it. The job in South Carolina is kind of the green line, and we're actively building it currently. Of course, I use all these Pro Tools up here. If you go to the this area, so there's a bigger view of my calendar. This actually shows you all your to-dos. This is these are older to-dos that are complete, as you can see here, that are lined through. And you can see here where it helps me track weather. Awesome feature. Get to add more time to my contract. So anyway, I think some of this information I use with my subcontractors and my project managers. Some of it I don't share with clients. I can show you kind of if you were to log in as a client. This is the page that they see initially.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I've got some client testimonials down here, and these are a couple of projects I've built. But if the client logs in, I'll go here to one of the projects. So this is the job that's under construction in South Carolina. And this is the view the customer would see. So you have really great control over what information you share with them within the construction suite. So if I just want to do a basic schedule with them, I can show them that, or I can even just show them milestones. I don't have to give them all the detail. These people are here in town with me and are very involved in the project, so I tend to share more. Place here to exchange messages. Files that I want to share with them. Here's some. I meant to log in as the other client. The other client actually has photographs within this phase. I will go out every other day or so and take pictures of the progress and post them here so the client can see.
Oh, yeah.
It's also a great opportunity for a client that's an absentee owner like the one in Tennessee to be able to see what's going on. And more calendar. More detail. Anyway, let me see what else I had down here saved that I was going to share with you guys. I think that's about it. And it's an amazing piece of software. Actually, the thing I wanted to lead with that I got a little bum puzzle there to start with. If you ever have any issues with the software that you're scratching your head and can't figure it out, the guys at UDA, as far as customer support, are amazing. And of course, all of the information that they share on the web, and YouTube, and all the videos, tutorials, and stuff are incredibly helpful. So
awesome. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah,
and that's a great look. I mean, there's some things that just in kind of watching you navigate, and I'll turn it back over to my screen there so you can have your computer back. But one of the things that let's see, I can't do two things at once, guys. There we go. Okay, so one of the things that, I just enjoy kind of seeing as you were moving about the screen is like you'll get to see how people are really using it and what you pick up. And I think, highlighting the tutorials, a lot of the things that they're kind of small nuances in how you navigate or how you, hop over to like that preview mode in the client portal. I mean, a common question we'll hear is, how do I know what my clients are seeing, and, just the confidence that they're seeing, the right stuff. And so that's a nice, I like how you showed kind of off that you were doing. So I'm not sure, we'll kind of highlight that again if, for those who are using ConstructionOnline, like if you're looking at mine, one of the things that's really nice is that you can view the public profile and you can log right in as one of your clients to ConstructionOnline, so you can see exactly what they're doing and what their view is going to be like. And I like that you showed that off, Matt.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So let's see. So the next guest, we'll kind of move along and have Dan give you a chance to kind of show off and talk a little bit about your use and your experience with UDA so far as well. So Dan's been a client of ours since 2011, actually. I think Dan, you and I started about the same time, actually. That's kind of the fun thing. I was thinking about that. You and I had started working with and for UDA around the same time. So it's been fun to see kind of how you've continued to grow and evolve. And make use of the software. But Dan, you're up in what was it? In
Pennsylvania, right?
Pennsylvania, that's right. I was like thinking it's not Connecticut. In the north there, so you've got some colder weather this time of year, it sounds like, more so than typical. But anyways, I'll have you, I'll turn it over to you and kind of let you share.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dan Clune from the great state of Pennsylvania.
People let me forget that one.
I own a company that's also design build, although we're not architect-led. We interface our consultants and handle the smaller design in-house, do a blend of new construction as well as a whole bunch of renovation work in the western suburbs of Philadelphia. So 2011 was a good year for a few reasons, one of which I got introduced to this company, UDA Technologies, and they were starting to put out this product called ConstructionOnline, and I guess I'll share a few things about how I got involved and then why I stayed involved, and then give you a little tour of what my application looks like.
Yeah, perfect.
So a couple of things that were non-starters for me when looking for a company like this was I was a big QuickBooks user, and I don't know if you all have accounting solutions, but if you're using QuickBooks, the reason I use it is it helps me with year-end compliance and keeping my costs in check, and I wasn't looking for some big expensive new accounting solution. So seamless integration with QuickBooks was very important to me. If you are a user, then you understand that QuickBooks does some outstanding things with compliance, but it does some real terrible things with construction in regards to change orders, job costing. It's just horrible at that kind of stuff. So UDA really dovetails nicely with QuickBooks, and I researched it quite heavily in the beginning, and they won some Intuit award or something, and that kind of gave me some confidence. But it really does integrate seamlessly with QuickBooks, and if you ever have any issues, I think Ian's on the line. He's helped me out a few times. Seems like everyone has got their act together over there when it comes to this kind of thing, and that was the second thing for me was support. To kind of piggyback a little bit on what was said earlier by Mac was, a lot of times when I call and I have an issue, and with software, it's inevitable. You'll always, eventually, you're going to have some sort of issue. Unfortunately, on my end, most of the time, it's me. But when I call, most of the time, someone gets on the phone and helps me out when I call. It's not like they schedule for the afternoon or tomorrow or Friday. I still can't believe how many times I've called in and someone fixes my problem when I called in. And for me, that's important because, like everyone else, we run with lean staffs, and we don't have time for all this stuff. I don't have an IT department, so that's been very helpful. So those two things were extremely important and are two reasons why I'm still here. The other couple of things why I'm still here, and if you guys will share, put me on the screen in the meantime, is technology has to save me time. If it doesn't save me any time, I don't use it. I'd rather just use my 3-ring binder, but ConstructionSuite and Online have saved me a whole bunch of time, because what I found that it does is it has taken away some of the communication that doesn't need to happen. Like, for instance, what's my specification for the range that I picked? Or my plumber might ask that, or my electrician might ask that, or the customer might have forgot what range they picked. And you don't need to have that conversation anymore, because if you're having it up front and setting the expectation of using this tool, everyone has the same information. So if they want it, they go get it themselves and save a whole lot of meaningless conversation. So I found that we got some time back out of it, and that's been big for me. Well, the last two things on that, and then I'll stop talking about why I'm still here, was progressive development. So if you can't change with the times, you get old, and then people go other places. Especially I need this kind of stuff. I know when I first came on and started using their online tools, I was using 3 or 4 tools to do my job. Now I'm primarily just using one, because they keep developing new tools that we need in construction. Like they didn't have a good scheduling tool for online use at first. Now they do. It's fantastic. They didn't have a punch list management application. Now they do. So they're putting things in front of us, and I think are listening to their customers and giving us some tools that we're asking for. So that part is very important to me. And the other is ease of use. So we work for young professionals. We work for old people. We work for everybody in between. And everyone's got themselves an iPhone or something, whether it's just for looking at pictures of their grandkids, or like everyone who's a younger professional who relies on this kind of information. So if they're the younger side of things and you're using these types of tools, I found it's almost a competitive advantage to the old clunky construction companies who can't give the information to the customer the way they're used to getting their information. No one wants to be handed a set of prints anymore. They want to see digital prints if they're the customer, because they don't really care that it's huge. They just want to see the print. Mm-hmm. And the older generation, it's so easy to log on and get their information. I've actually found that they're very receptive to it too. So that part of it is very important to me. Okay, so in the interest of time, I will just kind of move on and get into the application, which I have up here. One thing that's kind of nice is you can open up multiple tabs across your browser. If you're seeing full screen, like you can open up ConstructionSuite in 3 or 4 browsers and really get snappy with your application. Or this is ConstructionOnline. Instead of having to navigate through the menu if you're always using the same tools.
Yeah, and Dan, let me stop you right there real quick. I think you've still got to show. You've got it on, so you just need. I think there's a button where you'll need to hit show your screen. You see that on yours?
Oh, there it is.
Perfect. Okay, now we're good.
Ah, we gotcha.
My screen now, that's helpful.
In theory, that sounds great. That's perfect. There you go.
Mac showed you the new version of ConstructionSuite. I have still yet to upgrade to the new version, so I won't show you mine because it's going to look too old, and you guys just saw the new version, and that looks fantastic. I can't wait to upload the new version to my
Good. Good.
So once, it does a very nice job, and I spoke my piece about the QuickBooks thing. That's enough said for that side. But this side of things we use as our primary tool to manage our construction day-to-day activities. Mm-hmm. It really is nice, and I'll show you 3 things in here that are very important to me. The first is permission-based access. So I have a folder here. This is our screen that anyone who's a company person like me, my office manager, people like that who need to see everything. That's this Files and Images tab. So, for instance, under the Client folder we have here, we don't want everybody seeing the agreement, the allowances, certain things in here. They don't need all my different insurance type information and all that, and receipts and backups. Only the client needs that. So they have this little tab called ClientLink. So anybody in here is a client, and anything that's in here is only visible by that client. So it's very easy to follow and very difficult for people to put the wrong stuff in there, right? Like it's kind of in this bucket or that bucket. Are they a client, yes or no? So that part, you just push this information to that file with a couple clicks of the button, and it's easy. The second part is this team link. So that's everybody who's on the team, the vendors and the trades. And you can get specific in there on which vendor and which trade sees what information. I want everybody in here to see my prints, my specifications, things like that. So I'll give you a couple of quick examples. Like one thing that I find that's pretty popular with my clients is they like to show off pictures, right? So they're out someplace and someone's asking, how's their project going? Where are you at? Where are you at? And they say, well, here, I can show you. They just pull it up in their iPhone or whatever they've got there, we park a lot of rendering type things in here. You know, there's all kinds of, you know, different files that they can pull up and show to their friends. And, you know, we can do it as well from our own applications too. So you see there's lots, it's kind of like a structured Dropbox, you know, in the sky, which just, it looks a lot nicer. When they're sitting there on any device that they have, and, you know, you want to take a look at a file, you just look at the preview of the file. It'll show you, you know, a quick rendering of what your project's looking like. And when they're sitting at dinner, this is like them doing some marketing for you. And if you put that kind of information in their fingertips, they tend to show it off because, you know, they like to talk about what they're spending, you know, money on and what their experience is like. Another feature, which is probably the single best thing that I think we do with ConstructionSuite, is specifications. So if one of my vendors or anybody logs in, they're going to have a folder that says specifications and finishes. So I don't know about you guys, but you know, sometimes coffee spills on stuff. I don't know, someone forgot it, lost it, you know, they stepped on it, whatever. So the plumber shows up and he says, you know, well, I got to go install the range. Where do I put my electric? You know, or where do I put this? Or where do I put the gas line? So if you take your range right from your manufacturer, you take the PDF, and he looks it up on his iPhone because he forgot to bring the paper copy, and it's here, right? Mm-hmm. So the same thing goes with any trade that logs in or anybody who's there. Now, that's nice, but the big kind of thing for that with me is we used to have 3, 4, 5 paper copies of this out in circulation at all times. Mm-hmm. So what happens if something changed? Right? Or the customer says, you know what? I bought a different range, use this one, or would you buy, you know, change this to this? How do you remember who's got all that stuff and, you know, who's operating with the right spec? So if we just replace this spec with the range spec, they have some real nice email communication tools in here. I won't go into that, but in short, it looks like this. You set up your email parameters so that if anything gets changed that you have access to, you get a quick notification via email immediately with a link in it and it says, here, there's a new range spec. Simple as that. So, you know, if anyone has an email address or if you know, they can take a text message, they get notified without you having to tell everyone who's relevant to that range spec change. So that piece of information has saved me countless mistakes, and it's something that we use every day, all day. Let's see. Another nice thing is, you know, scheduling. You know, we used to use a couple other scheduling tools. You push this right out of ConstructionSuite if you want to. I tend to just build them here, and you know, you build a template and then replicate and change. So it's very quick and easy to change and manipulate there. So you know, it's all predecessor relationship stuff. I'm sure everyone has seen Gantt charts before, but you know, very nice little packaged up tool here. Another one that we've used a lot recently, for maybe the last year or two now that we've been using it, is this punch list application. This is the same project. I just preloaded it up here. The punch list application is really nice, and you know, there's a couple things that are consistent with the tools in ConstructionSuite here, and I'll just open this up. So I have, you know, a couple of punch lists for this job right here. This one, you know, the list is called painting and drywall, so things relative to there. And we have this one, let's see, it's a spackle touch-up behind the stair rail. So if you open that up, when you build it, you know, you can communicate, you know, any notes that you want to in a little running log. You can set people who are assigned, but then people who can view it, these related people here. And you know, set some due dates and things like that. And it's a nice little application for what we use it for. You can attach, you know, any pictures or files or issues that you find with it. And then, you know, when your guys show up and they log in through their iPhone and pop up the punch list of that day, you know, sometimes it's a little bit of a training issue to make sure that they always go there before they leave the job. Therefore, they would have had the information. But you know, that's a training issue. But I find this tool to be extremely helpful as well. Let's see. There's lots of other great tools here. You know, for specific use cases, you know, you can drill into that. But you know, I just wanted to show you guys some of the ones that were important to me, and kind of the reason I'm still on board, and you know, the reason I really agreed to come on to this webinar is what they pointed out in the beginning. You know, when I call in, I'm always asking, you know, what are other people doing? You know, I'd love to see some little, you know, things how someone else is using the software. So yeah, hopefully you found a piece of it interesting, and that's about all I got.
Excellent. Yeah, no,
Thanks, Dan.
that's awesome. It's nice to see really how you're using it, and seeing we've got all these practice projects and things, and so it's always fun to see kind of what people are doing and how they're using it and what they're what seems to work really well. So we appreciate you showing. Let's see. I'm going to turn my screen back on there, so we'll have that back into view. Perfect. Well, let's see. So really at this point, then, the last speaker we have today, before we kind of go into more of questions, is one we've done pre-recorded. So Floyd Kraft is with Debrino Caulking and Associates, and really he's been, like you were saying, Holly, he's been a project manager for over 40 years, and with this particular company for 20 years. And the cool thing about Floyd is that he's really a specialty contractor, specialty trade. So, a lot of a lot of times we're hearing a lot of different people calling in. We've got users who are all different shapes and sizes in terms of type of work. So it's really always nice to kind of have somebody else's perspective as well in terms of how they're using it. So what I'd like to do is really kind of play for you. This is the Debrino website, but we've got that pre-recorded. Holly had a chance to interview him last night and kind of ask a few questions. So we'll play a few clips on that one. So that you can kind of take a look. But really, for those of you who are in attendance there, we'd love to have your questions. So if you've got questions for Dan and Mac or Holly or myself, certainly you can type or chat those over at any point, and we'd love to get to those and have real clients, talk on behalf and answer those on behalf of UDA. So definitely keep those over. Be thinking of those as we kind of play this next segment here. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and pull up Floyd's screen here, and what we're looking at is the pre-recording from from ConstructionOnline, or from his use. So right now he's going to be taking a look at kind of really what he uses and how he's been using ConstructionOnline. And so we'll kind of take a few clips. Holly's talking in part of this, so we'll go back.
And one thing that I did want to share is we really. One of the most common questions that I get when I'm helping new people get started or helping people evaluate the software is, people want to know, is this for me? And they'll tell me, that they do some sort of specialty work, or maybe they're not a GC, but rather a subcontractor or a specialty contractor or a trade, and really want to know, is this something that can be effective for them as well? And Floyd has done an excellent job. Yesterday we had a session, and he really was able to show me exactly how he was using everything really from that perspective and with his team. So yeah, we can go ahead and play that now and take a look at at how he's using it.
Yeah, so this is going to pick up right as Holly kind of asked a little bit just how he's using it. So we're looking at ConstructionOnline for him now, and we'll go ahead and press play.
What we did was, these are some of the pictures of the water coming in between the wall and the floor, and we injected that. What I did was every day we take some pictures, we draw the drawings, and I would upload them to OnSite, and the customer and the owner would review them almost every day. And this way we were keeping on track of them. Then we also, go back to the files.
Yeah, so they're kind of keeping up with the progress that you guys are making there.
Right.
And you had told me, Floyd, your team is about what? You've got about 14 or 16 guys in the field with you.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And this was. Let's download that quick. All right. And this is what they got every day. Was a drawing of the floor plan of the building, and the yellow line is what we're supposed to be doing. And as we did it, I marked it out, updated it every day, put it online. That way the owner and the GC that we were working for knew exactly what we had finished and where we were. And they really liked that. The fact
Did they say?
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying that so they were really actively logging in every day to keep up. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. And that's the way I use it on a regular basis. Is on that way. When I do a time and material project where there's no way of telling how long it's going to take or what it's going to take, I do the use the Pro use for the login, and I use that, and I send that as a PDF to them every day. It's also posted, and that way they know that this is what happened. They know the materials, everything is right there for them. And there's no way of, and it stops the phone calls that I get. Well, I never got the information, because I know it's all right on the site for you.
And they've always got it. And the same is really true for your team as well that you're working with, right? So it's, it's a good way to keep the...
Yep, I send them all the data sheets. I give them all the data sheets. They're online for them. And their time sheets is all there. Any paperwork that they need. There's a lot of jobs we go on. We have to have clearance to go into the buildings. So we talk with they get a list of what they've got to do, who they got to see, phone numbers, and all that. So it's stopping me having to print everything out and getting it to them. And they can't say to me, well, I never got it. That's the worst thing I hate.
Well, this kind of gets rid of some of that for you.
Yes. And it puts everything in one spot, and even my boss has rights coming in, because this is my own program. It's not company owned. And my boss even logs in, and he quickly goes through everything and finds out where I'm at. And so, there's no questions of, what are you up to?
Yeah.
So he knows.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a quick testimonial or kind of quick example of how Floyd's using it. One of the things I really love that he says is that with Floyd, this is a program, he works for a company that's, much larger, and in terms of the ConstructionOnline and ConstructionSuite, he's actually all using this himself. This is all his internal tool. Out of the 12 or 14 project managers, he's the one who's really kind of adopted this system, and like he was saying, has his boss log in and really access information and not have to worry about when people are really keeping them up to date, or how people are really, whether or not people are logging in or how they're accessing forms and information. He can post it all on ConstructionOnline or on his site and really have that information managed. So really kind of a neat perspective that he brings to it as well, where you have kind of a different piece, a different kind of exposure to it from a different type of user.
Exactly.
So, yeah, definitely a cool thing, and I'll share a little bit more of that a little bit later here in the session. We'll go back to the main view here. I'm back on my screen, and we've got while that was playing, we've got several questions. So, kind of in coming back to the focus back in ConstructionOnline and ConstructionSuite, want to take a moment to really kind of have Mac and Dan answer some of these questions are geared for you, and so wanted to have your perspective to answer these. So, really to start, for one thing, we've got a question coming in just asking about how many organizations are currently using version 6, so currently using ConstructionSuite 6, and it's probably one that's better answered by me or Holly there, but it's been available for 2 weeks now, so we've seen a lot of people, like Dan was saying, it's a matter of just making sure that you have time to do it, so we're seeing a lot of people cross over, and it's one of the things as our, as Total Care members, it's something that is included as a part of that membership, and we're just, making that available as we go. So it's hard to tell. I'm not sure how many people are using it yet, but definitely had some good kind of exposure to that so far. Past that, Dan, this is from you. This is from one of our pro advisors actually as well for ConstructionSuite and also QuickBooks, and just asking what version of QuickBooks are you using right now with UDA, and what are some of the hiccups or the biggest hiccups you found with integrating with QuickBooks?
I believe we're using 2014 QuickBooks. We use the Pro Edition. And let's see, hiccups. There's a few. So what I did was when I ran into some problems, I called you guys. And I said, hey, here's what we're doing with QuickBooks. What should I be doing? And I think over the course of 20 or 30 minutes, we dialed the parameters in to work with how I use QuickBooks. One of the nice things, one of the nice features of UDA's integration with QuickBooks is you may have a lot of line item detail, or you may not. So, depending on if you do or you do not, you might not want to import the line item detail or export the line item detail to QuickBooks, but you have the capability of changing those and making it tailored to your experience. So we tend to operate a bit in the middle. We like a lot of line item detail, but I don't need to get down to, is it a 2x4 or a 2x6? Framing number works fine for me. So the best thing about integrating with QuickBooks is you build the estimate in an estimating software. When you hit push to QuickBooks, it generates your entire items list, builds the project, and it's done. You don't have to do anything. You just hit save and close. So then when you use QuickBooks just like you normally do for invoicing, but just when you bill, you're billing for those specific line items, and as if you're using POs and you're using your bill trackers inside of QuickBooks, you're tagging those with those specific line items. So in the end of your job, or halfway through your job, if you want to see how you're doing, you import your actuals from QuickBooks, and it lines right up with your line items in your estimating software. It's like magic. And if you came back from, if you were always a QuickBooks user to start, you'll think you think you found something because you've been trying to make QuickBooks do this forever. So that's the big piece for me. So you can actually see, like, did you blow it on the framing lumber bid, or were you good? So you can get better at your estimating over time if you use those features.
Absolutely, yeah, great point. Yeah, we'll see. What about you, Mac? Mac, are you using QuickBooks as well?
I am. And to be honest, I haven't used it a lot until recently, but I had an opportunity to do a clean install so I could really get it set up so that all I have is and I did it when I upgraded to the new one. So, I think my challenge in the past was I had an old system, and I was in making the transition to the new system. But once I did, it's well worth it, the change. And the upgrade to the 6 is good, but having an opportunity to I think, like Dan was talking about, get all the items set up the way you want them. I'm kind of like he is. I'm kind of middle of the road as far as how much detail we track. So yeah, I think I share his thoughts.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll have oftentimes, a common question that we'll get from newer users as they're kind of adopting UDA and that system is that typically they'll have QuickBooks already in place, and so it's not as often that we'll hear of new users who are coming in and both adding ConstructionSuite and also integrating with and also adding QuickBooks. Usually they have QuickBooks already in place, and so it's kind of nice to hear your feedback, especially Dan, with yours in terms of kind of making that right connection between those, and how you can kind of start over too, like you said, Mac, when you get a point where you can really kind of find a time to set those up so that they work well together. So that's a common question we'll hear.
So it looks like moving on to another question. We'll go ahead and take another one here for both of you guys, really. We have a question coming from a user, a customer who's using ConstructionOnline effectively in the pre-construction process and with clients, but wanting to know really how have you really facilitated the buy-in from suppliers, subcontractors on the operations or production side, so once the job is going. Any insight into that, or how has that been for you guys?
I think Dan probably uses it more for, from what I could tell with what he shared, as far as sharing it with his vendors and subs. I really use it more for my clients and for my team. So it might be that has that experience.
What about your team, though, too? That's another question we'll have, in getting those. Sometimes it's, it's a matter of just saying this is how we're going to do it, and do it if you want to continue.
No, I don't give them a choice.
I think that's why.
But once you use it for a little while, it's, it makes complete sense, and it really does streamline things.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a funny thing to say, right? But don't give them a choice, but it's absolutely 100% accurate. If I'm interviewing for a job with my customer and they say, here, establish this login and you'll have all the prints that you need to bid my job, I'd say, okay. And I go establish the login and get the prints for the job. And it's kind of the same thing, because your trades and your vendors are your their customer. So if they want the information to bid the job and do the work, you either email it to them or they establish a login one time, and now they don't have to email you or ask you for it. My experience is, it's like, here's what we do. We'll send you, an email and login right out of ConstructionOnline, and they get it. We usually make a funny password for them, so it's kind of catchy. And at that point, they say, "Wow, why haven't we been using this in the past?" Because now I don't have to call you and get your voicemail every time I want a new updated brochure drawing or a set of prints or whatever. I just go in there and get it. And I've had zero issue with buy-in from customers or trades or vendors because it's ease of use. If it was a pain in the neck, no one would use it. So I haven't found it to be a challenge at all.
I like your approach. I need to take that.
Over here, right? Well, good. Yeah. On that same approach, I mean, a lot of let's see, a lot about a lot of the questions coming through are again kind of just managing the whole system. So one of the questions was asking about is it something where you found that you need additional staff to really kind of help you get up and go? Now, certainly, Mac, you've been using it for years, and so it sounds like your use and kind of implementation into the construction suite or UDA kind of process has been probably pretty incremental. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there have been times when I was just, over the years where I was kind of just flying solo, and I still used it then. I mean, it's even now that I've got more people and a lot more to manage, it's even better. But it doesn't require, as far as implementation and getting up to speed, it's not. I mean, the learning curve's not that steep. There's all kinds of tools you can use, and it's very user friendly as far as getting started. And you don't have to dig into all the features it's got to start with. If you just used a few of them, it would make you more efficient immediately. Really.
Yeah, that's excellent. What about you, Dan?
Well, I think. In our current environment, everyone is forced to be to run a lean operation, or you'll be priced out of the market. At least here, that's the case, especially post 2008. I mean, you just need to have be a lean operation if you're going to be competitive. And I said before, all the whole construction suite with ConstructionOnline. It definitely saves us time, and I think if anything, it helps us to stay lean and not add additional staff. It's not keeping you from having the correct people, but I know I get so much more out of my office management by having tools like this that make sense. And I got to think it's pretty efficient for labor costs.
Excellent. Is that it? Oh, go ahead. Or one of the questions.
That was a great.
One of the questions coming through is we've got a few construction suite users, and a lot of the things that both of you have shown, and same thing with Floyd, have been the ConstructionOnline side. So maybe for those who are not using ConstructionOnline, you've made it pretty clear, and what benefit you're gaining. But if perhaps some maybe best practices or kind of recommendations for if that was something that people were wanting to kind of put in place, or how that's helped you, perhaps maybe some advice or feedback on that would be helpful.
Well, of course, there's features within the suite that you don't have in the online version. The online version, in my mind, is kind of a distilled down view of what's going on in the suite. So,
yeah.
The estimating side and the scheduling, all those. There's, if you want to get into the nitty gritty, the suite's where to do that. And of course, I use it for contracts and agreements with my clients and subs, and I manage all those documents within the suite. So, the suite has its strengths that the online version doesn't have, and vice versa. The online has obviously things that you don't get in the suite. So I think as a partnership and being able to sync the information back and forth works great.
Yeah, excellent.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you did. No. Well, and it's fun because we were getting a lot of the fun thing about these webinars and this series is, like Holly was pointing out earlier, that there's a lot of existing users, and so we've got a lot of the UDA family who are hopping on and kind of listening to these webinars, and a lot of good best practices out there. But it's always kind of nice to hear what are their tools or what are their ways to kind of to approach or to really get involved in those tools. So those are good common questions that we'll hear. So let's see. In terms of a new user, so it's been a while since both of you have you've been using it for so long. What would you recommend in terms of new users? What should their first steps be, or or what would be helpful for them in really kind of making the most? I think, Mac, you had said one thing was just to start somewhere, and I like that, where you don't have to master the whole thing. But what other tips or kind of recommendations would you make?
Dan?
He's like, Dan's been a younger client, right?
Going if you're gonna get into something, embrace it. There's a lot of synergies within ConstructionSuite and ConstructionOnline, and if you're going to add a piece of software, embrace the software. And until you can shed the 3, 4, 5 different things you use to run your business, there's always so much inefficiency about that. There's a whole library of documents that are ready for you. The estimating to the agreements to all these things. There's a lot of synergies within ConstructionSuite. And if you really want to get into this thing, talk to a couple of the technical people in UDA, and you can make this. You can really dial this software in, to be very intuitive within itself. We've dabbled in that a little bit, like generating your agreements and language within your agreements. So if you're a very tech-heavy person, like you can go there with this software. If you're not, out of the box, you don't need to be. You can use it just as it is out of the box and have a very good experience. But I always think if you're gonna sign on to something, embrace it and use the tools that are there, because they're meant to have synergy with each other.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of things that just quickly that Dan mentioned earlier that I wanted to respond to as well. The backup that you get from the UDA team. I mean, I'll just give you an example. I called in one time. I had bought 2 additional licenses, and I had one set up, and I wish I could remember the guy's name that I talked to, because he was amazing. He literally, I shared all 3 computer screens with him in my office, and he installed and updated and did. I was running, and I got computers on different floors, so I'm running back and forth, looking at all the ones and while he's doing all this work, and I mean, he got everything set up, everything communicating, and it was an amazing process to get that going. The other thing too, just quickly, the messaging part of this with your clients. I mean, like Dan was saying, I mean, I used to use 3 different softwares to try to especially creating some kind of an archive with my clients about communication, instead of getting it all lost in a bunch of email exchanges. It's a great place to share information and then have a backup if you need to go back there and refer to something that they said in a message 6 months ago. You can go back to that information, and the ConstructionOnline feature, you're able to archive those and then go back to them if you need them.
Yeah.
And it also works well on Android devices.
Yeah.
He mentioned iPhone. I'm
You've got to have one.
I'm an Android user. I have a Note, and it works very well with my phone too. So.
We've got the team Android. Holly and I are both iPhone users.
We are, yes.
No, we've got several Android people on staff, but that's fun to hear. We're in a constant battle here in the office about which one to use and which one's better. So it's fun to hear you say that. Okay, well, we've really got time for about maybe one last question, and so
yeah, I think so.
We've got. It's been fun to see. It seems like we've got, in terms of questions from the audience, more statements than anything else. People who are kind of jumping in and who are kind of mentioning the things that they've enjoyed, or kind of that they're looking forward to using some of the online tools or the new product as well. So I think that's exciting to hear. The last question we have is really kind of more of some of the QuickBooks. I think both Dan specifically saying that QuickBooks was what brought you here. We had somebody else who mentioned that was really their experience as well, coming from Master Builder, which is a much larger program. He mentioned not really anybody available to support it, but being able to make the transition with QuickBooks was actually was how he had found out about UDA. So what would be some best practices? So in terms of setting up or things that you've kind of learned with QuickBooks and setting up the integration there, what would be some tips from you, Dan, on making that happen or making that work well?
Well, if you start everything in ConstructionSuite, everything syncs up seamlessly. So if you start your change orders in QuickBooks, you're not going to have the detail and tracking that you will if you started them in ConstructionSuite.
Yeah.
The other nice thing about if you always start things in ConstructionSuite, at least in my own experience, I tend to then always send the change order documents. So then, because it's right there, you just hit send, and then you send the change order documents. It goes out via email. It comes back, right? It's approved. Great. You push to QuickBooks, and then you push it to ConstructionOnline, and it parks it right in the client folder for you. So, it's so easy with just a couple of keystrokes, and then your job costing is accurate. So best practices for me is if you just get in the habit of starting in ConstructionSuite, even for change orders, don't go back to the old way of just trying to make QuickBooks do what it can't do. It'll make a very nice, tight little experience.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good to hear too. And I think to kind of summarize it and some of the things that we've heard that have been really consistent themes from both of you, and then also the people who have chatted over in this session is, I love what you said earlier, Dan, in terms of embracing the software, embracing kind of that new thing when you're really kind of when you're gonna dig in and adopt a new system, that it's important to really kind of give it your all and make that investment. We were joking with Mac and Dan before the session today about kind of time to get started or how much time it takes, and Mac's been with us for 13 years and has had some pretty good exposure. But in terms of time, what can people expect? What might be a good idea, or kind of how long did it take for you to really get to a point where you felt confident in how you were using it?
No, I've always used bits and pieces of it. I think within the last couple of years, I've really embraced it, and in my mind now, as complete as it is, there's not much reason or excuse to. If you're in the building industry, and I'm not even really. I do a lot more project management, and design for clients, and I use it for that. And I'm not even heavy on the building side, so. And I've embraced it and used it. So if you're a contractor, like Dan, and you're working the construction side heavily like he is, I think it has a huge value there. But like I say, I use it as a project manager, and I find it incredibly valuable too. So
awesome.
There's no excuse. Use it.
That should be a T-shirt or something.
It should. That's the next UDA T-shirt, I think.
Well, good. Well,
like anything, you got a learning curve, right? And when you have a piece of software that has so much capability, you pick the low-lying fruit. You got to get an estimate out the door, right? So you use it for that, and the stuff on the periphery, you'll get to it. Out of the box, you can produce estimates and send them. But then there's a whole bunch of other tools, and it just comes with a lot of gear, So you can keep unpeeling, you can keep peeling back that onion as you get to there. The other nice thing too, just as it kind of fits the theme, is when I got onboarded onto this whole thing, I like to get some background information watching the little training videos that were there and stuff like that. And I would assume you guys still do this, but for new customers, I was given, I don't know, a training session or an overview to kind of Q&A my specific use case, and that was extremely helpful. And hopefully you guys are still doing that, but I didn't just throw you on the bus.
No, Dave.
That was helpful.
No, we are. That's a great point. Yeah, and even since, I think that's a great kind of point to talk about too is just the UDA online resources. So in addition to the personalized training like you mentioned, which is the one-on-one, and really the things that we found is that everybody's different. You know, there's a lot of commonalities and similar ways that people use it, but everybody has specific needs and questions and ways that they learn, and so those personalized trainings are really helpful because you get that one-on-one time with the product specialist to really kind of ask specific questions. We always try to supplement those. We've really kind of focused on providing these longer or the kind of an additional webinars and videos, and of course all the webinars that we have done, you know, these live sessions are all available as recordings, so you can always go back and rewatch them. But what we found to be really successful are those short videos. So a lot of these, you know, Sweet Talk is the name of the of the video series, but the Sweet Talk training videos are, you know, 5 to 10 minutes, and those are the ones that we found have been really good and laying a good groundwork before those more detailed training sessions. So those are great tools and things that we constantly update. So you can subscribe to the YouTube page and basically be alerted when there's new videos posted. And we try to be pretty responsive about those too in terms of what people need to see or commonly asked questions, so that, you know, it's always nice that you can watch a video and kind of have it as a resource when you're not available to make a call perhaps. So. Well, good. Well, that's really about the time that we have today. I want to really leave by thanking Dan and Mac. You guys have been awesome, and it's been a lot of fun to chat with you before and during the session today, and really hear your perspective on how to use ConstructionSuite and ConstructionOnline. So I really, both Holly and I really appreciate you attending, and appreciate all of those who had attended and made a point on their Thursday afternoon to set aside an hour of their time to really kind of hear this information and allow us to be a little bit, you know, more real and talk about strategies or kind of tips and tricks and things that help really putting a new software and a new system in place. So we really appreciate all of your time and enjoyed having you on the session today.
We do, yeah. Thank you to everybody who attended. A special thank you to Floyd, who spent some time with me yesterday afternoon and let us record that. I think this is really something that is just so helpful for people to see what other people are doing and how other people are using it. This will make a great addition to this resource library, a video that people can come back and watch really and see what everyone else is doing.
Absolutely. So anyways, on that note, then we'll call it a day. We enjoyed having you all on the session and hope you have a nice day, and we'll be talking to you soon.